In this review we have a big crane, but in a very small scale. It's the XCMG XGC260 crawler crane, and it's in the unusual small scale of 1:120. So this is very much in the mould of a promotional model. On the back of the box there are photos and writing in Chinese, and the good advice: do not throw it. The model is presented in good quality packaging, and it's always nice when the model is wrapped in cellophane. But we won't let that stop us. We'll tear it off and get to the box. Although the scale of the model is very small, the box is still quite large, so we can hardly contain the excitement as we wait to see what's inside it. With the cellophane off, we can now lift the lid, and it comes off nice and smoothly. Now we can see our old friends, the expanded polystyrene trays. And yes, they are factory sealed with tape, so we need a sharp knife just to cut the tape. And then we can lift the lid and get our first look at the model. And now we can see why the box is relatively large. And that's because it looks like the model is fully rigged. And if we do get it out, there is indeed no assembly to do because it is complete out of the box. Before looking at the model, there's a few adjustments to make. It is fully reeved up in the box, but we need to just put some of the rope back onto their respective pulleys. And by doing this, you realise it's a good job that the factory has reeved up the model. Working in this small scale makes it even more tricky to run the ropes correctly. And it's not just people with salami-sized fingers that would have a problem. Even those with pencil fingers would struggle on this one. Out of the box, the two hook blocks are both reeved with a single fall of rope. And of course that's not really realistic for a big crane like this. The big hook block is also strangely reeved on the boom head. So we'll make the decision to go for an alteration, and we'll cut the big block off. Like on many models like this, they actually glue the rope to the hooks, but you can usually get it off okay. And here we've reeved the big hook block with two falls of rope. And this makes the model look much better. We start by looking at the track frames, and they're surprisingly good given the small scale, and they have some graphics printed on. The track sprockets are different colours, and surprisingly the tiny crawler tracks are metal. The ballast box between the track frames has got graphics on, and here you can see the detailing on the track pads. One of the compromises of this small scale is that things like handrails tend to be over large, and it looks worse in close-up than from a distance. The toothed slewing ring is modelled, and there are nice ladders, and the quality of the graphics on the bodywork is very good. Moving to the back, and the counterweight tray has XCMG graphics. And the markings on the counterweight stacks is really good too. Continuous brass pulleys are used on the reeving of the gantry, and the reeving pattern is somewhat odd, and the inner brass pulleys should just be a winch drum. However, the gantry is nice and thin for the scale. On the opposite side of the model there is a fixed winding handle, and it drives a tiny brass winch drum. The hydraulic rams look oversized for the scale. The boom sections have got full lattice work, and it would have been nicer if it had been thinner and more delicate. There are signs attached, and there are also walkways indicated on the back side. There are pulleys at the boom head, and most of the riveting is discreet. And again, this all looks better from a distance rather than in close-up. The struts are quite heavily modelled, and the reeving of the ropes for the luffing jib looks good. For the pendants, simple lengths of rope are used. At the jib head there are plenty of brass pulleys, although I'm not really sure what the top ones are for because the pendant ropes are just glued on. The hook blocks on the model are made of metal, and they're tiny, and they've got nice graphics. First up, the crane cab rotates out from a transport position, although you can't strip the model down for transport. The crawler tracks roll very smoothly, which is an achievement given the small scale, and the crane can also be rotated. But it is quite sticky, at least to begin with, and maybe it would need to be turned a few times to get looser and smoother. For the other features of the crane, we've already seen that the reeving of the gantry is not realistic. That can be improved, but it probably can't be made functional. But one feature that the model does have is a working main winch, and although the winding handle is very small, it does work very well. As we've already seen, the model has 2 hook blocks, and the second auxiliary winch runs from a drum on the boom foot. If you can get to it, you can operate this drum by using your fingers or thumbs, and so the smaller hook block can be raised or lowered. But on the review model, there's no friction on this winch drum. The last bit of potential functionality is to alter the angle of the luffing jib, and the rope does run from a very small winch drum up to the end of the first luffing mast. But there it is glued on, and the rest of the reeving is non-functional. And the pendant ropes are also just glued on to the top set of pulleys. So that would be very difficult to get working, but you can alter the angle of the luffing jib, and if you preferred that pose, you could shorten the pendant ropes. This is a small model, but let's get the tape out and do a dim check. And the overall height is about 16 inches or 40 centimeters. If you want to go end to end, then it's about 30 centimeters or 12 inches. This is an interesting small promotional model by Yagao. Of course, the scale of 1 to 120 results in many compromises, but in many respects it's a small fun model. Some aspects of it are really nice, and if you want a crane model that sits on your desk without taking up much space, this one is good.